Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Having a conversation yesterday with a couple folks. And I thought to myself, I don't think a lot of people realize how this country works. I don't think there's no history and civics class anymore. Nobody understands how bills work, states' rights, none of those things. No, they don't understand any of those things. They're just completely like, I don't get it. What are you talking about? The majority wants this. The majority should get it. It's not the way we work. We're a republic. We're there to what? To protect the minority. So we don't have mob rule. That's really what it's about. And we're pretty much split down the middle. I'd say this country's a little center right when you get down to the nuts and bolts. But it is hilarious to watch the reaction of people. Roe v. Wade. If you saw, like, you watch the media all day, you think that's all that anybody cares about. It's all that anybody's talking about. And that everybody's all, yeah, it's super. This is it. Right? Women back in the kitchen. Chained up to the stove, just pumping out babies or not. It's crazy. So I found this to be interesting, even after Roe v. Wade. New survey. 7 in 10 Americans nervous about rising cost of living. It's the number one thing. Inflation and savings right now. Number one thing. Yesterday, on my local show, we took calls from men and women. Several women called in. And they were like, you know what? It's important, but not that important. And you're like, whoa, wait, what? No, but I've been told it's the most important thing of history of the world. It's important. But it's not that important. No. It's not that it's not important, Roe v. Wade. It's the fact that the media makes it out to be this is all that it is about. And the Democrats are going to run with it as long as they possibly can. And I continue to ask people, just send me the stuff that you think that, man, Biden got that so right. It's crazy. Like, Biden couldn't have got that any righter. You can't. Christy Johnson, a 51-year-old self-identified independent voter, told Reuters, she cared about abortion rights, but her major issue was inflation. What? Yeah. 8 of the 16 pro-choice women they spoke to in one of these surveys said they were unsure who they'd vote for in the upcoming state Senate race here in Arizona, which is, we're a swing state. We're purple as it gets at this moment in time. Because the reality is, they said, unlikely to vote for Kelly. Some might vote for Kelly, who is the senator in question who is up right now. But it's all about inflation. Even with the pro-choice women, a majority of them say it's about inflation. Oh, my goodness me. That's crazy. Now, the Republicans have another issue. Because for some of them, they are worried. Ted Cruz spoke about this worry. I know he did. I heard him.
In terms of the underlying decision, I think what is likely to be more consequential in the midterm is the decision itself. And if the majority opinion continues to be the majority opinion, and if the outcome is that the court does strike down Roe versus Wade, I can tell you Democrats in Washington are holding on to that as their Hail Mary chance to save the midterms. They believe that people will be horrified and that'll help them win. And I got to tell you, more than a few Republican senators are nervous that's the case.
Yeah. There's some out there that are. But the reality is they're not. This is not going to be the driving issue. The average person, as I continue to tell everybody, lives in the world of the economy every day. You have a job, you got to put gas in the car, you got to put food on the table, you got to keep the lights on, you got a mortgage or rent. You have all of the things on a daily basis. You have everything on a daily basis that you have to worry about. The rising cost of groceries. is insane. The rising cost of all of the things. Again, I told you last week I spent $4.29 for gas. $4.29 for gas. All right? $4.79 yesterday. Week to week, 50-cent jump in gas. Biden's talking about inflation because he understands this will help them raise some money. This will energize a few, but it doesn't have the legs. Because when you struggle to keep food on the table, when you struggle to keep the lights on, when you go from doing okay to living on the edge, that changes everything.
The national average, $4.37 a gallon. That is after prices peaked in March during Russia's invasion into Ukraine. The U.S. pursued extraordinary measures at the time, releasing oil, emergency amounts and record amounts of oil from our strategic petroleum reserves. That sent prices lower for a time, but now they are back climbing.
What? Yeah. And what do I tell you? Watch out for diesel. When you drive by a place and they've got diesel up there, look and see what diesel costs. That's what people care about. Yes, Roe v. Wade, but the average person who's got responsibilities, living their life, says to themselves, you know what? There's some personal responsibility that we continue to ignore over and over and over and over again. And everybody brings up the same thing over and over and over again, which, well, what if you're raped by your three uncles who come out of the bushes, but you've never seen them before, and their dad eggs them on, and all of a sudden you have a baby? That's less than like 0.5%. And everybody agrees that's awful. Those guys should be neutered and then buried. We all agree with that. But a lot of people I talk to who are pro-choice are like, well, there's some personal responsibility to go with it. You know, over the weekend, Bill Maher talked about this. He's got his panel there, right? He's Michelle Tafoya and somebody else, and they're sitting there talking. Michelle Tafoya, of course, formerly of NBC News. She left NBC Sports. She's sideline reporter for years. And, they're on there talking, and he's like, here's something I don't think people realize, because I looked into abortion this week. Just as many, if not more, women are pro-life. Wait, what? Can't be. No, yeah. Europe, that we're supposed to be so enlightened, we talked about it. Europe has much stricter policies when it comes to abortion. Much stricter policies. Oh. So does this have the legs? Well, it has the bank account. But how long will that last? Because eventually people are going to go, I just don't have the money to give. I'm not quite sure I want to because I'm looking and seeing prices go through the roof. And for big business, this we didn't have a chance to touch on it last week, but what did I say? All the screaming and the yelling and all that you heard from in front of the the Capitol, in front of the SCOTUS itself, all the screaming and yelling. Most of those actually were boardrooms. One of the biggest PR firms in the country, arguably the world. Zeno, Starbucks, Netflix. You know what they said? Stay away from it. They'd advise their clients to remain quiet on the draft Supreme Court document. Be quiet. Coca-Cola is part of theirs. Don't say anything. Stay away from this. Stay away from it. Not to engage with the media. They've told their clients on this issue. At all. The topic is textbook 50-50 bad. And when you start picking sides, people start picking Pepsi, people start picking Hulu, people start picking Dunkin'. I don't care what your stance is on certain things, just like you shouldn't care what mine is. Just serve me your coffee. That's all I'm after. Does not have the legs I think people think it does. Doesn't mean it's not important. Doesn't mean we don't talk about it. But the reality is understand how we work in this country. Understand that Roe v. Wade was never settled. Ever, ever, ever settled. In fact, it continues to cause division and arguments in this country. This has never been settled. Where other parts of, well, what about this next? Sorry, nobody's talking about those things. Well, we're going to get rid of interracial marriage. Well, let's ask Clarence Thomas. Clarence, your white wife, do you think she wants to get rid of interracial marriage? Do you remember all the marches? No, there's none of that. Those things won't be touched. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program, a lot of stuff to get to. Andy Warhol's paintings, they're worth a lot of money. How much? We're going to talk about that. They finally caught him after 11 days on the lam. The I don't even know, the Bonnie and Clyde that's not quite romantically Bonnie and Clyde, more like white trash Willie and his wife, former corrections officer, have been brought to justice in a weird way. We'll talk about that. First, let's talk about smelling good. I like my house to smell good. I do. I'm a stickler for stank. I don't like it. Eden Pure, make sure I don't have any of it. It's delicious. What is it, Chad? It's the best air purifier around. Plug it right in the wall. Boom. Smell the difference. I keep saying that, but you will smell the difference within minutes. So if you've got kids, you know kids can be stinky. Maybe you're a smoker. Maybe you were once a smoker, and some of the stuff still smells. Guess what? Eden Pure's Oxyleaf 2 Thunderstorm will kill that smell. Just destroys the odors fast. Within seconds, you'll notice the difference. Within minutes, you'll smell the difference. Incredible. No filters to buy. Plug straight into the wall. Absolutely quiet. Right now, go to EdenPureDeals.com. Code CHAD3. 123. Code CHAD3. You're going to get a 3-pack sent out to you. You're going to save $200. And you're going to love, love, love this. EdenPureDeals.com. Use code CHAD3. EdenPureDeals.com. Code CHAD3. Save $200 right there. Shipping is free. EdenPureDeals.com. Chad Benson Show.
Warning, no snowflake zone. Uninformed opinions are in danger of melting. The Chad Benson Show.
Vicky White, the former Alabama corrections officer who went on the run with capital murder suspect Casey White, is dead after both were taken into custody. White immediately sent back to jail. The urgent 11-day nationwide manhunt now over.
Yep, she is dead. She shot herself, apparently, when they I just saw, like, if you've not seen any of the pictures, he's a mountain of a man. He is huge. He must be, he's 6'9", and he probably goes 350 plus pounds because he's not this thin. He's wide. He's huge. And you see these two police officers that have him cuffed, they barely get up to his shoulders. And it's over finally, and it looks like people talking about, was she the mastermind? She was?
I think based on her experience, in the corrections industry and law enforcement, this was definitely a well thought out, escape. And obviously her pre-planning and her involvement aided in their evasion for 11 days.
Yeah. 11 days they were on the run. Came to an end yesterday, Indiana. And then it's sad. It's sad. The whole thing. You ask, what was going on in your life that you, a woman who had worked in the correction industries for 2.5 decades, had a spotless record, what happened? What did he do to make you feel that way, where you thought this was a good idea, and for it to end the way that it did?
When we were taking Casey White into custody, upon his surrender, he said, "Help my wife. She just shot herself." So that's what we're basing it on right now. But obviously there's an ongoing investigation to determine just that.
Yeah. So not there to plead her case. Did she kill herself? Did she say it was, she had to go and she did that? But 11 days they were gone. Didn't seem to commit any other crimes. I don't know what the master plan was. I mean, they eluded for 11 days, and he's not hard to hide. He's 6'9". This is not a hard dude to hide. But they did it for 11 days. Crazy story. Crazy. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Meanwhile, in the Ukraine, yesterday was kind of a lot of people thought that he was going to come out, old Pooter, and, give this big speech about, hey, everybody, you're going to be part of the fight for motherland. We're calling everybody up, and this is a war, and NATO's coming. And it didn't seem to be anything. And here we are now, moving towards 80 days into this. There's no clear sign of victory. And you've got pushback even amongst his officers and people now who are questioning what the hell's going on.
In Russia, thousands gathered for a World War II victory commemoration and are rallying around the war in Ukraine. Now a senior US official saying there's anecdotal evidence that some Russian officers on the ground have either refused to obey orders or are not obeying them with the same measure of alacrity that you'd expect an officer to obey.
What's that mean? They're telling them to do something, and they kind of give you that look that the dog does where they tilt their head and think, no, I don't think so. I know you don't want me to eat your shoes. I understand you don't want me to eat your shoes, but when you leave, I'm probably going to eat your shoes. I have to destroy the couch. I don't want to, but when you're gone, you don't know what the couch does to me. It's mean. It's mean. It's a horrible. They don't know what's going on. That's it. That's the big thing. There's a disconnect between Russia and getting stuff to the field. That they're talking about this great war. These people are seeing firsthand, this isn't a great war. If we are killing, it's a slaughter. If we are, and we're running for our lives, and we're not quite sure because we keep looking for people for Nazi outfits, we don't find them anywhere. I don't think this is all you thought it was. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, Twitter. More proof that the coronavirus reaction hurt a lot of kids, particular teens coming into their own. Yeah, it did some serious damage. Where are we going? Because now they're predicting a huge 100 million people getting infected with the coronavirus this year. What's that mean? Talk about that, so much more. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I got a new gig. What are we doing in the future? It's nothing to do with me leaving this show. Never. Sorry, kids. Not going anywhere. You have to deal with me. I'm thinking I'm going to start going to all of the protest and being the guy out of rhythm and then chanting something that's a little different than what everybody else is saying. See if you follow. Here we go. Alito Coats go seg. Whoa! 4, 3, 2. That's choices. Pro the thing. Here we go. Just annoy him. Oh, look at that. It's fun. So I think if you just go there, right, and you clap out a tune, just to watch him get angry. Just like, you're so better. Settle down. Settle down. We're having fun. We're having fun. They don't know how to have fun. They don't. I've never been that person that is, again, that angry that I'm going to fire off something. Oh, I'm going to protest. Have you never protested? I've never protested. Producer Phil, have you ever you're in D.C., you're around there. Have you ever protested in your life?
Never.
Mm-mm. I think protesting is kind of like Twitter. Like you see a lot of people, but then you're like, nobody's really on there. Right? You know what I mean? But Twitter is a perfect example of its outsized influence. Ted Cruz talked about this, the outside influence of Twitter, and why Twitter is huge, even though the reach as far as day-to-day users is not big.
By the way, one thing people may not realize as to why Twitter matters so much. So a tiny percentage of Americans actually follow Twitter. And those that do skew pretty heavily left. If the world were the Twitter sphere, we'd all be screwed.
It would be sunk. Yeah.
AOC would be president. So I'm glad that the world is not the Twitter sphere. But most normal Americans are not on Twitter. One of the reasons it matters so much is every reporter in the universe is on Twitter.
And that's it. Hence the reason why the outsized influence of Twitter is there. Because the blue checkmark people, right? The self-indulgent, super important people go on Twitter. I'm on Twitter. Do I like it? No. I mean, you guys follow me. Some days I tweet. I go 4 or 5 days. I just don't care. Because you can't even say anything like hi. And it's easy for you to say because you're a cis, white, gendered male. I can't deal with that. Be angry somewhere else. But Trump got elected in many ways because of Twitter. Because of Twitter. I've said this. If the left hopes to stop him, if he decides to run in 2024, you better hope Elon Musk allows him back on. Because if he can't tweet some of the things that he tweets that angers them so much, who knows what? How do they get angry? What are we going to do? I don't know. But it punches above its weight. And free speech is important. Without free speech, we don't have a lot of things in life. Without free speech, we don't have the when I hear, we're just, we're fascist and we're this and we're that, I just shut up. Shut the hell up. Stop with that nonsense. But Twitter is where a lot of people go and they get their ideas and they get their anger and they're able to go out and they splash it amongst the people. And it does cause people in certain places to maybe rethink certain things because they're terrified of the Twitter mob.
And so I can tell you in politics, frankly, the way you get out a statement and get it out quickly is you go to Twitter and you put it out. And it's an amazing, wild thing that I will pull out my phone and I'll send a tweet. And within minutes, I can turn on the TV and see my tweet on the news, driving the news and driving messaging. That's part of why free speech on Twitter matters, because it influences everyone that has outlets of communication. That is potent for the overall public discourse.
Yeah. And we need to be able to have conversations. We do. Because you go and look perfect example is go look at cable news. There's a couple articles out there this week about, do we really want, news on cable news? Probably not. You go there not because you're going for, just like everybody, if you have a certain opinion and you're never really swayed from that opinion, you're no longer looking for information. You're looking for affirmation. One thing about CNN, MSNBC, that happened when Trump came along, he gave everybody a bump, especially them. But I cautioned everybody along the way. You're going to find out through this whether Trump gave you a bump or you were interesting. Because if you're not interesting and Trump's gone, you're going to realize, people weren't here to watch me so much as they were to watch me rail on the guy that angers them or excites them. But the minute he's gone, there's nothing to keep me around. CNN's dealing with that.
CNN saw substantial viewer losses this month, shedding 43% in total primetime viewers, 54% from the primetime demographic, 34% in total day viewers, and 43% in total day adults ages 25 to 54. That's compared to March.
While CNN is still finishing April in basic cable's top 10, the network ranks number 13 in April among total viewers and number 15 in the primetime demographic.
Yeah. Ew. Nobody's watching. People were watching when you were screaming and yelling that, just like MSNBC, right? MSNBC has become, they're beyond unwatchable. I will say this about CNN. I've watched them more in the last couple months since the whole thing with Ukraine started because I think they've been really good on it. They've been less opinion. They've been there. I think they've been really good on it. But you guys weren't interesting. You weren't. And then you were wrong and not interesting. That's the other side of it. People don't care if you're right or wrong. They care if you're interesting. If you're wrong and you're uninteresting, well, then you have to double suck. That's CNN. That is CNN. But that's also MSNBC. Joy Reid is angry all the time. For all the lunacy of Tucker Carlson, I'll look up and I'll go, oh, he's got Leslie Marshall on. She's a Democratic strategist. They're arguing about something, but they're laughing. Oh, my God, he's talking about UFOs for 10 minutes. Or, he's talking. None of that. It's just, hey, everybody who's white, you're awful and evil. The Democrats are the best and the Republicans are the worst on earth. And they're just, it's all about apartheid. And you're angry, right? Then you had Rachel Maddow spew for years that they were catching Donald Trump. Tonight's the night. I've got this. Nothing. And when nothing happened, everyone went, pfft, and nobody stuck around because what you were covering was interesting. You're not.
And I suspect that partly reflects probably the declining this is awful, but the declining newsworthiness of the Ukraine war, right? It's been going on long enough that probably people aren't quite as glued. And COVID, that's been a long-term thing.
And Andrew Cuomo not being there anymore. Wasn't he their top guy?
Right. People not having to be glued to their televisions about any specific news event, that right now, or less glued than they were before.
Yeah. Well, COVID still wasn't anything super driving it. We kind of got over it and we've moved on with ourselves. Andrew Cuomo is, and Chris Cuomo. Chris was the guy. But still, he wasn't he was, they just have nothing. But so many of them do. But then everybody says, well, shouldn't everything be falling? Well, hold on a second. There is the other news network they've not talked about.
Yeah, well, and also, but it's kind of interesting because people are still tuning into Fox and then again, there's a Democrat and, Democrats are in control. So Fox is still on fire, right? They're like, oh, no, the world is ending because Democrats are in control. So there's always this world is ending sort of, that's what keeps people viewing the news. The world is ending.
Yeah, if it bleeds, it leads. But you have to be interesting. I don't watch anything on Fox. Every once in a while, I watch Gutfeld. I'll watch Kennedy when she's on. I like Kennedy. But I don't watch any of the shows. I don't have time. I got other things going on. You're just there to, spout some insanity. But the least you could do is be interesting. And the one thing CNN is not. Brian Stelter, while hilarious to us, is not interesting. He's not. While hilarious. Like watching somebody who is, every time I watch him, he reminds me of a comic that goes on stage every week and bombs, but still shows up, still keeps doing his thing. And I'm like, somebody's got to pull him off. He's awful. But no. And that's a lot of them. Interesting's important. Being right's very important. But if you're going to be one of the two to keep people coming back, you better be interesting. You'll get right even once in a while. They don't do either. And neither does MSNBC. And Fox is Fox. They've not changed. They continue to do the same thing over and over again. But I will say this. I'll sit there and watch because I can't really see. I actually find Shark Tank the most interesting. That's the one of the ones because we watch CNBC. We have a local station. We have Fox. And this is when I do my afternoon show. And I look around and I'm like, I always like Shark Tank. And sometimes they're playing reruns, and I got to go, all right, Google, does this company make any money? And that Lori lady's the one. She's the best. So if you look at the 10 most popular, I'm on a tangent here, 10 most popular Shark Tank things, right? The inventions, she's like 7 of the 10 she's invested in. I think the Squatty Potty was her big one. Oh, yeah. People are like, I would never buy one of those. Then you try one, you're like, I might get one of these. But I look at Fox and I'm like, okay, they're talking about weird stuff. They're talking about fun stuff. Everybody's laughing. And there's a Republican. There's a Democrat. There's another Democrat. There's another Republican. I look over on MSNBC. It's just anger. And CNN, for the most part, they've given up on a lot of that January 6th stuff, and it's been Ukraine across the board. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Our Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. We're going to talk about Andy Warhol and how much damage was done during COVID. And we're not talking about the damage that was done when it comes to lives, people in the hospital. We're talking about the other side of it, that a lot of people said you know what? This is going to be unhealthy for us as a country, especially for the young, but was completely ignored. And now as more and more comes out, lo and behold, it wasn't good for the mental well-being of our children. 323-538-2423. Calibrate. Losing weight, super great. Do it with Calibrate. Calibrate is simple. It's easy. It fits into anybody's schedule. It is lifestyle changes combined with FDA medication, combined with you just doing you. It's going to reset your metabolism. It's going to basically, I'm giving you the snapshot version, but think about this. Back in the old days, your DNA used to say, we don't have a lot of food, so we better store our fat. Then all of a sudden, once you start to grow and you eat a little bit more and you're like, I'm trying to lose weight. Once you start to lose weight, you stop. Well, that's what happens. Your body's starting to store the fat because it's saying, oh, my God, we're starving. This is going to reset your metabolism the way you go. One-on-one video coaching, right? You got in-app, group of people that you can work with, talk with. There's great plans available as far as things that you're going to do to work out and stuff like that if you want to. Plus, you're going to have a one-on-one doctor visit via video. Simple and easy. 20% is the average weight loss of Calibrate's earliest members, and many of them have lost a lot more than that. Simple, easy, real lifestyle changes. Join Calibrate.com right now. Use code CHAD, save $50 on a one-year metabolic reset. Join Calibrate.com. Use code CHAD to save $50. Join Calibrate.com. Code CHAD. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where we reach across the aisle and occasionally poke someone in the eye.
That is us. I don't know if we really poke people in the eye. I don't know if you can do that. It's not a very nice thing to do. So the pandemic, as we know, the way that we handle things was just awful. It's horrible. They're predicting, more doom and gloom. Hundreds of quadrillions and kabillions. I saw today was 100 million they expect to get this year. 100 million people are going to get infected by it, potentially. Everything's potentially, right? And for a lot of people, we've moved past the pandemic. We feel like we're in the endemic phase at this point. So how are you going to react, government? That's the fear that people have. How are you going to react? What is going to take place that you're going to do something that is going to be, once again, stepping across the line where you're crushing down on everybody, telling them they got to stay indoors and do all of these things? And we're starting to now, even, Randy Weingart, who's the president of the teachers union nationwide, she came out and talked about all the damage that was been done, all of this stuff. And you're just like, oh, you're just now doing it when everybody else was pointing it out. Here's a bunch of teens talking about the issues they're talking about the pandemic, but it's not the pandemic, it's the lockdown.
I remember crying every night, not knowing what was going on, and I felt so alone.
Sophia and her friend Nina Hughes were in 8th grade, looking forward to high school when COVID turned their worlds upside down.
I've always been a super smart kid, and I've always had really good grades. And then as soon as the pandemic hit, I failed a class.
Hospital admissions data shows the number of teenage girls who have been suicidal has increased 50% nationwide since 2019.
That is crazy. That's a pandemic. But in the want to, out of the abundance of caution and the want to do something, we shut everything down. Now, some states open up quicker. And the ones who didn't, they suffered the same scenario that everybody else was suffering as far as the numbers and things like that. I mean, it was virtually the same. But the mental health side of it, is that? It's crazy. Why? Being home all day, remote learning, being away from your friends in a time. We're not meant to be that way. We're a pack group. There are very few of us that alone is their favorite thing. They like alone time. But being alone, all the time, it's not what we're meant to do.
When I was virtual, I had no motivation to do anything. I would just sit in my room, never leave, and it was like obvious signs of depression.
My mental health got really bad, especially my eating disorder. I was basically home alone all day. My parents, well, they noticed that I wasn't eating. I would refuse to eat. So then they ended up taking me to the hospital.
Yeah. Mentally, this was awful. The lockdown, the damage that's been done. This is going to take years just from the education side, but the mental health side for a lot of these kids, I see it. One of my stepdaughters struggles tremendously. One of my little brothers, absolutely crushed by so much of this.
What was lost? What did you guys lose during the pandemic?
Myself.
I lost friends because we wouldn't see each other. We couldn't go to our first homecoming. I couldn't have an 8th grade graduation. I know that doesn't sound like that big of a deal.
But it's a big deal when you're in 8th grade.
Yes, it is a big deal. Touch more about this throughout the show. If you miss any of the show, grab the podcast, 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. It was bad. And I think we're starting to feel the ramifications of this kind of shutdown, especially for the youth of America. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
What will be on the mind of voters when it comes to the election, midterms? Curiosity, what is going to be on the mind of voters? Is it going to be Roe v. Wade? For a few, it might be. For a few, it might be climate change. But for the majority of us, the vast majority of us, even people who are pro-choice, especially as you've gotten a little older, you have responsibilities, you have to pay bills, you no longer live in mom and dad's house. It is about inflation. Inflation, inflation, inflation. That's it. You're looking around, you're like, things are getting more expensive. It's costing me an arm and a leg. Anthony sent me a funny thing over the weekend. We'll throw it up on our old Twitter there. It was a guy pulling up to McDonald's, and in front of him there is somebody's got their car, and they're waiting for something, and they get like a coffee, and it must have been grandma or mom or somebody who's working in there, and they hand the child through there, and he's all, man, inflation's getting high. Yeah, it's inflation. Inflation, inflation. People are worried about the cost of everything. 7 in 10 voters are worried about the cost of stuff. Gas prices through the roof. Now, we can blame it, as the White House is continuing to try to do.
If we look at the recent inflation data, depending on which data you look at, 2/3 to even 70% of inflation data is a result of energy prices. Chairman Powell has spoken to this, and Secretary Yellen has also spoken to this, as a result of President Putin's invasion of Ukraine and the impact on the global energy markets. Those are all steps and impacts that I don't think anyone could have predicted a year ago.
That's a bunch of crap. It is. Oil had already gone up. People going back to work. You're fooling yourself. Did it have an effect? Of course it did. 100%. You can't say that it didn't. But you don't think the how many trillions of dollars that you decided to print up? Look, I was fine with the first go around with Trump and the Republicans, who spend money just as poorly as the Democrats do. I was fine with that. Was not fine with the second one. And by the time Biden got there, he's like, well, I haven't had a chance to give free money away. And then he put it on blast. He's like, you know what? Let's see what they did, and we'll raise them. You don't think, even the New York Times over the weekends printed an op-ed piece to go along with another article saying what everybody else had been saying. All right. Some people stayed at home because they were scared. But a lot of people stayed home because giving them a bunch of money to stay at home, they were fine with. Wow. You can't blame it all on Putin. I can't blame everything on Biden, but I'm sure in the hell not going to blame it all on Putin. Gas prices, oil was rising as we started to get back to work. As the not even the Omicron, as Delta had worked its way through the country. A lot of people have natural immunity. People had gotten their first and second shot. Some people are already on their third, dose. They're boosted. As all of those things were taking place, the world was emerging and it was starting to get back to work. So you had the perfect, and while that was happening, oil companies here weren't producing. Well, there was no need to, because for a year plus, oil prices sucked. They were awful. There's no reason to produce. That was a loser. Then everything exploded. Then Putin went in, which you should have known was going to happen, because you don't move 150,000 people onto somebody's border without the end game being, I'm going over there. You knew it. Plenty of issues when it comes to this. And inflation is going to be it. It will be the number one driving thing, at least at this point in time. Now, something could change. We could get dragged into a war. There's no doubt about that, which would make everything woo, like, okay. But we're in a situation now where it is top of mind. Even people who are pro-choice. I think the Democrats are finding out we can raise some money, maybe. We can energize a few places. But we're not going to get that run that we think we're going to get from now until November. That's not going to happen, especially with gas prices where they are.
The national average, $4.37 a gallon. That is after prices peaked in March during Russia's invasion into Ukraine. The U.S. pursued extraordinary measures at the time, releasing oil, emergency amounts and record amounts of oil from our strategic petroleum reserves. That sent prices lower for a time, but now they are back climbing.
Yeah. And they're staying steady. And the 50-cent jump from Monday of this week to yesterday in the price I paid for gas. Producer Phil, you live out there in Virginia. What did you pay for gas? Please tell me kindly, sir.
$4.25.
Now you went to where? You went to Richmond this weekend? Where'd you go?
Yeah, I went to Richmond last weekend.
Was it different as far as gas?
No. It was pretty much the same.
Pretty much the same. See, I live outside of the city and in the Valley of the Dirt People. So we have four. We have four. Giant, huge, the flying, J and, TA and Loves and all these things. So the gas price is a little bit lower there because you've always got, the fuel trucks there, things of that nature, a little cheaper gas-wise where I live. But I got off the freeway today, Chevron right there, $5 a gallon for regular gas. Arizona, $5 a gallon. We're heading into the season with more driving. Do you think prices are going to go up or going to go down? Who do you think people are going to look at and go, well, this isn't about Putin? You could blame some of it, but not all of it. You should have known that this was coming. And printing all that money, you didn't think there was going to be an adverse reaction? And I love listen again to what Jen Psaki says. And it's a perfect example of spin.
If we look at the recent inflation data, depending on which data you look at, these 12 over here say, spending all this money. We had issues going in before. There are some supply chain issues. And you start going and saying, okay, this kind of points a majority of it at your administration. But if you come over here, well, we found the stuff that we need right here, depending on which data and how we twist the data. Not a helper. And Roe v. Wade, while it is something that is going to drive at least short-term enthusiasm, it's not going to do, I think, what the Democrats are hoping it's going to do. It's just not. They're going to have a vote this week. Schumer's talked about that.
This is no longer an abstract exercise. This is the real deal, and everyone's eyes are on them. So we can always hope, and we must have this vote. Every senator must show where he or she stands.
Yeah, and it's going to end nowhere. It is nothing that is going to be anything other than a show vote. How many times did Republicans show vote Obamacare? Right? Even when they had, they had like 52 or 50, and they'd send stuff up there and he would veto it and everybody would laugh. And it was like, we're trying, because you knew nothing was going to happen. And that's what this is. That's what all this is. This is a show vote that's not going to change anything. And if you go and look at many of the polls, the enthusiasm on the right is as strong as the enthusiasm on the left. So they can get out and protest, which is what they're doing. And the left is trying to also come out there and say, well, you know what? We can maybe we'll twist a little bit. We'll figure out ways that we can go, oh, you know what? Civility's okay over here, but over here, you don't have to be civil, because you're right as far as we're concerned.
The justices have security. So far, all of the protests have seemed overwhelmingly nonviolent. And so, yes, they're going to be protests in front of Kavanaugh's house because people are angry. And as long as they stay nonviolent, I think for most of the people who are watching it, you can understand where they're coming from. I think for a lot of people, a conversation about civility feels like it misses the mark when constitutional rights that you believe that you had for over 50 years are about to be overturned.
Never ever was in the Constitution. And there's a lot. Again, we talk about, you look at the Constitution, Ninth Amendment. There's a lot of things that aren't in the Constitution, but this was never settled law. It never did anything to settle anything. The division was always there. It's been a bitter, divisive issue, and they're returning it back to the states. That's it. They're not saying it's illegal. They're saying, you know what? States are allowed to do this. Well, why are states allowed to do this? Because our founding fathers we're smart enough to realize, look, we don't want kings. We want a bunch of little fiefdoms, and allow those people to elect the people that represent them, because they're going to be the ones living there. And in doing so, we'll allow them to, as representatives, to govern themselves. So some states are going to be an oasis, right? Of abortion. You could just come across the state. Even if you don't want one, you're getting one. Other states will probably reach and do stupid things. But that's the beauty of states' rights. But I love how they talk about, well, civility at this point in time is not really necessary because I really believe something to be a certain way. There was somebody at Georgetown Law that tweeted out something, a professor this weekend that tweeted out something similar to that. And I was just like rolling my eyes, like, before the January 6th, people come out, and start trolling, essentially, I'm paraphrasing here, the people here believe that, they're on the right side. Oh, they're on the right side. They're on the right side. So if you feel you're on the right side, and who gets to decide that? You feel that you're justified in doing anything, and morally you're superior. So if punching somebody in the face makes you feel good, and morally you feel you have the right to do it, well then, hey, by all means, knock it out.
When you have the Supreme Court justices like Clarence Thomas coming out this weekend and saying that they will not be bullied and that people need to live with outcomes they don't agree with, and other
tell that to your wife.
Yeah.
Tell that to Donald Trump, who refuses to say that he lost.
And then other justices are saying you have no right to stand up and freely protest, peacefully protest outside of our homes. We have a right to privacy. Well, women have a right to privacy as well.
Yeah. Clarence Thomas is right. People need to learn with outcomes they don't like. They need to learn to live with them. We don't. We don't anymore. We tell kids that everybody gets a trophy. We tell kids that everybody wins. We live in a society where everybody feels they should have everything they want all the time. And that's a bunch of crap. It just doesn't work that way. And this is an outcome that you don't like. So what do? You throw a fit. You raise some money. You get told that the world's coming to an end. And people prey on your fears, never really actually intending on doing anything about it, and understanding themselves, having worked in government, part of government, elected officials, exactly what's going on here. They don't agree with it. All that being said, they understand states' rights. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Healthy Cell, take it every single day. Wake up in the morning, boom, on the way I go. I've got my Focus, my Recall. This is the best stuff. I mean, so many people out there, they try vitamins, and I tried vitamins. It doesn't work because it's a horse pill. It's huge. You're not supposed to take something that doesn't taste good. and your body doesn't absorb it. With Healthy Cell, guess what? My body absorbs it all. Ingestible gel. Simple, easy, little packet, tear it off, suck it down, away I go. I've got Focus and Recall I take in the morning. I also take Super Immune Boost. Boost my immunity, which is fantastic. See all my friends around here have allergies and colds and stuff. I got none of that. And at night, to get the best sleep, REM sleep. And to get the kind of nutrients, vitamins and stuff, you'd have to take up to 15 pills to get anywhere close to this. And my body eats it up. Nom, 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 nom. It's awesome. Right now, I want you to try it. Better health for you. It'll make you smile, make you focus, make you sleep better, give you immune boost. Go to healthycell.com/Chad right now. Save 20% on your first order. Healthycell.com/Chad to save 20% right now for the best around. Healthycell.com/Chad. 20% off your first order right now. Chad Benson Show.
I can't take it anymore!
Well, get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Let's find out what is trending on the old interwebs. Start with Google. Number one trending thing so far today, Britney Spears. Britney Spears nude pics. Fans split. Concerned about her What? People are concerned about her well-being? Oh. A little late for that now. You know people are going, you know what, maybe this wasn't all we cracked up to be. Maybe we didn't do the right thing. I'm kidding. You did the right thing. She's putting those things out all the time. The Celtics. Number one trending thing yesterday, along with the details of the amazing couple, the white couple. They were only together for 11 days on the outside, but 11 days of fun and frivolity, hiding. But eventually, the former corrections officer and the man who is serving 75 years, now facing capital murder charges, they were apprehended. She committed suicide. At least that's the way they're coming at it now. So, my goodness. That's not a love story you want. No, it's not. It's not a love story at all. Stock market, not going well over the last couple days. So far today, the Dow Jones is up about 200. But if you go and look, it is taking a beating. Yes, I know. Don't look at it. If you're long term, I'm going to tell you this. Don't look at it. If you're short term, you need to pay attention. That's simple. Head over to Twitter. Gmail. Gmail was discussed after Republicans filed a complaint with the Federal Election Commission in late April, alleging that Google's email platform unfairly censored GOP fundraising. UFOs are trending because next week, for the first time since the year of the Lord 1970, of which I was born, they are going to have an actual open discussion and meeting about UFOs. What? They're going to testify the House Intelligence Subcommittee next week. Oh my. War in Ukraine is also raging on Twitter as well. And COVID, because of people are starting to say, are we heading back to that situation where people are going to start to get masked, be told they can and can't do? I don't know. It's a possibility. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. More on, Ukraine. Wordle. What did you guys do, Wordle? Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We're talking about Britney Spears and all those people, that loved Britney Spears, right? They went and they're like, oh my God, Britney's being held against her will, kind of, in her conservatorship and all this stuff. And oh my goodness. And since she's been out, I mean, we've seen more of Britney literally than ever before. And so, producer Phil, you have to join our Snapchat. So, yeah, they're full. There's some fullies there. Fullies. And people are now starting to comment who are fans about the Brit and say, well, hold on a second. This isn't right. What's going on here? Some people are like, she's free and she could always do crazy stuff like that before. But people are now saying, is she okay? This girl is sick. She's crying for help. Anyone else here legitimately concerned? Someone please help her. She's not okay. So many of these things are pouring in, mostly from women. Guys are like, I don't know what the problem is. Oh, my goodness. Maybe, some people are also saying, maybe that the conservatorship was there for a reason. Maybe it was. Maybe. Not always. Look, you know what? Go ahead. Knock yourself out. That's it. One person said, this girl is sick. She's crying for help. At least make an OnlyFans page. I love Britney, but she's got two big boys who can see this. I'm pretty sure that conservatorship was in place for a reason. Oh, some people are paying attention to. Right there, 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. We were talking earlier about the Georgetown professor who came out and essentially, when it comes to the getting in front of the courthouse of SCOTUS or in front of Alito's house or Gorsuch or Amy Coney Barrett and any of when it comes to that, they're, hey, don't even, they have justification to do whatever they're going to do. And he tweeted something out. This is what he said over the weekend. Josh Chaffetz said the protest at the Supreme Court, not at all the justices' house, line would be more persuasive if the court hadn't this week erected fencing to prevent protesters from coming anywhere near it. And before the O, so you support January 6th, LMAO, that's my ass off. Oh. Trolls show up. The difference is substantive. When the mob is right, some, but not all, more aggressive tactics are justified. When not. Then he defended it yesterday. Folks can snitch tag at Georgetown Law all they want. I'm so sorry, public affairs folks. They're not going to fire me over a tweet you don't like. Except, of course, if you, like Ilian Shapiro, if only I had justified mob justice Holmes instead of criticizing the selection by race and gender, he was hired and then let go of Georgetown because he said, look, if they're interested in real progressives, here's Ilian Shapiro, one of the bright minds in the world of constitutional law and law across the board, right? And he's in trouble because he says, what? Well, he says, if you guys really want true progressivism, there are better people than Ketanji Brown Jackson. And then people came out, New York Times, right? Here's Washington Post. Yes, Georgetown should fire Ilian Shapiro for a racist tweet. Crazy. So crazy. But you can justify going to somebody's house and trying to scur them. It's nuts. It is. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at the program. Love hearing from all of you. We've got other things going on, like we still have supply chain issues. And one of those things that's going on is baby formula. I don't know if you... So I was this weekend, where I live, Valley of the Dirt People, we have a big Walmart. I go there to get groceries and stuff like that. It's the way home from church. The baby formula aisle is empty. There's nothing there, right? Nothing there. We have issues with baby formula. Where is it?
I went straight to Costco and they didn't have my formula. I went to Target. didn't have my formula. I went to Walmart and they didn't have my formula.
It has been a nightmare every few days hunting for baby formula. Every grocery store around me, the shelves are completely empty.
It's kind of weird, right, that we're talking about Roe v. Wade and people are like, I can't find baby formula. Well, it's not a big deal, right? Gosh. Chad, that's not very nice. No, I just find it ironic that we're talking about both Roe v. Wade and the lack of baby formula. Maybe we'll start a QAnon thing here. Maybe this was on purpose. What?
Leslyn Holub is a New York mom to 3-month-old son, Jack. Born a preemie, Jack requires special formula to supplement breast milk.
We landed on Gerber Gentle Supreme. We never saw it in the stores, but it was in stock everywhere online.
But in recent weeks, that supply has dried up.
So, of course, panic set in.
Leslyn is now trying a European baby formula for Jack. She's also relying on posts from Instagram pages like the Formula Mom for information about where to find supplies. Yeah.
Have you tried steak? Just ground that thing down. What your kid eats? Steak. That's all he eats. It's not a supply of red meat. I was talking to my mom because my little brother, for guys who don't know, I've got a little brother. His name is Spencer. He's my adopted little brother. He's actually my nephew. My mother's adopted him. He is super special needs. So on the hierarchy of special needs, it doesn't get much higher than Spencer. He's got brain damage. He's got a G-tube, a trach, cerebral palsy, several other things that have gone on. But oddly enough, he has survived, and he is happy, but he'll never walk. He doesn't talk. He recognizes, but he has special formula. My mom's like, no, luckily we stopped. My mom's a big, I don't know what she's prepping for. I've never understood it. Maybe it was this, but she's always been kind of a prepper, but not really. What she is she'll tell me, I'm kind of just, I go and I buy a bunch of stuff, and I continue to buy a bunch of stuff because I don't ever want to be without stuff here. Not just in case the world's coming to an end, but just in case the kids get hungry. But she's always stocked up. And I said, are you having any issues? She says, not right now. But that I understand the formula side because he still has a special formula he has to take. And she says, luckily we've got, several months worth. But right now, if we needed it, we couldn't get it. I'm like, that's why steak, Mom. Steak. I'm just grind it up, right? Get one of those ninjas. Just give it to him. He'd be fine. He'd love it, right? Steak's, it's good. And she's like, steak's like $300 a pound. It's not really. It's getting there. It feels that way.
I just can't imagine not being able to feed my baby or the fear of not being able to possibly feed my baby.
Val Weber posting to Facebook, offering up extra breast milk to parents whose babies can use it. Val was able to help a mom to premature twins get enough milk to hold her over until a delivery of formula could come in. Meanwhile, other families are now turning to sites like eBay to find formula.
Yeah. And even though a majority of these women probably are breastfeeding, for some of the kids, they need the milk. They need the formula with it. They're not getting enough nutrients and the things. So this is crazy, though. It's like, here we are. This is America. It's like right now, CNN behind me, FDA, they're showing all of the stuff. They said they're working around the clock to address this. But it is nuts. It's weird when you go in places, and I know when the pandemic first started, we go in places like there's no toilet paper and there's no, there's no sanitary wipes for, to wipe off everything in your house just in case. There's none of that stuff, and that was kind of odd that we went there. It's like, quick, go get all the toilet paper you can, all the sanitary wipes forever. But this is just a weird situation, and people are freaking out, and they're right. We're first world. We're it. We're not first world. We are the first world at this point in time. But to see that lack of, that's getting people nervous. Goes back to what I've been saying. We can talk about abortion, talk about Roe v. Wade. We can talk about a lot of different things when it comes to it. But does it have the actual legs to get them through into November? Is it going to excite people enough? And I just don't think it is. I don't think it is. I think right now we were just talking about Britney Spears. If you go, so somebody goes on Twitter and they post something, right? So unless you are super blue check mark with 30, 40, 50 million, several million, the run you get maybe in the media might be something. But Britney Spears goes, she's 40 million followers on Instagram. 40 million. And it's everywhere. It's splashed everywhere. People, we have a very short attention span. And the reason we're paying a little bit more attention to Ukraine is because there's a threat of destruction for the world. And we also realize, too, is the powers that be that really matter as far as making decisions are focusing hyper on what's going on in Ukraine while we argue over all kinds of things. But Britney Spears will get more run over her nudes by a lot of people who are of voting age than a lot of other people are out there saying, I'm fighting for your rights. They're like, oh, we're fine. Just, you know what? Whatever. They don't really feel that way. They do. They do. I was arguing with my on-air partner yesterday. He's like, he and I love the guy, right? And he's full of emotion, and I'm very pragmatic. And he's just like, women, are there second-class citizens? I'm like, where did you get that? You know, and he's like, I've talked to women, and I'm like, really? Have you talked to them? Is it the number one thing in their life? No. You're talking to a 35, 40-year-old woman, probably not the number one thing in her life. They're not. They got responsibilities, got other things, and other women can't even fathom that. People who are just so pro-choice, and it's the only thing that matters. They can't fathom the fact that another woman who's also pro-choice, though, goes, look, it's down the list of stuff in my life that's super important. And part of the reason is, and a woman told me this yesterday, you want to know why? Because I handle my business. What? Yeah, I handle my business. I don't have to worry about that. Take care of the things I need to take care of. I've handled my business. I'm not going to be in that situation. And it sucks if other people are, and I would like them to be able to have the choice. But you know what? I'm at a different point in my life where I've got to worry about other things. And a couple of people around, the look on their faces was, and I'm like, they look like I did it. Like I put her up to it. You better say something. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. And by the way, she didn't really use the word business. She used another more colorful word, which if we just were doing it straight podcast, I'd just have her come on and say it. But it was funny. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter. Tweet at us. My dogs, I love them. I give them the best stuff in the world. That's why I give them Rough Greens. A naturopathic doctor, Dennis Black. Amazing guy. Dog lover. Grew up, on a farm in Missouri. Here's a guy who just loves animals. He's been through all kinds. I've seen it all. Been a naturopath for 20 years, right? Airborne Ranger, Green Beret, Distinguished Service Medal winner, Stage 4 kidney cancer survivor, 7th degree champion black belt. This guy's done so much. Loves animals. He wants to do something. He wants to make sure that every dog out there gets to enjoy Rough Greens. And he wants you to try it for free. So if your dog struggles, low energy, bad breath, poor elimination, as I like to call it, digestive problems, itching, scratching, achy joints, which is my dog Doodle, all of these things, it's Canine VitaSmart. It's Rough Greens. He calls it dead food is dog food. With this, it's a powder sprinkled on top of your dog's food. Vitamins, minerals, probiotics, digestive enzymes, omega-3, 6, 9, everything you can think of. It's 100% natural. And what it's going to do is give your dog a lift and help them with so many things. Naturopathic doctor Dennis Black, so confident Rough Greens is going to improve your dog's health. He's offering a free Jumpstart trial bag. So your dog can try it. All you have to do is pay for shipping. Visit roughgreens.com/Chad. That's it. You don't have to change anything else. No food, nothing else. Just add a small scoop of Rough Greens every day. Roughgreens.com/Chad. RUFFgreens.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
I'm so tired. I'm exhausted.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
20th century works of art, American works of art, it's the highest price ever paid, close to $200 million. Let it sink in. It's quite something.
Yep, let it sink in. $195 million is what somebody paid to purchase Andy Warhol's Marilyn. $195 million. Where does that rank? Let's take a look at the tops of the tops. You'll be surprised. There's a theme here. Andy Warhol's Double Elvis, 1963. Final price, $53 million. Andy Warhol's Colored Mona Lisa. Final price, $56.1 million. As we're talking about, this is the priciest art in the world. You've got a few, Basquiat's and several others, but Warhol across the board is Coca-Cola, $56 million. The Last Suppers, $60 million. Race Riot in 4 parts, $62 million. Andy Warhol, Men in Her Life, $63 million. 4 Marlins, $69.6 million. Andy Warhol, Green Car Crash, Green Burning Car 1, $71 million. Triple Elvis. He's not even trying now. At this point, $81 million. Silver Car Crash, $105 million, and then $195 million for Marilyn. That is insane. It is. It is. That's huge.
This is a big achievement. That is not on me, but just on Warhol and Marilyn.
Like Walter. It's not on me. It's on Marilyn as well. When you look at some of the stuff, it's like, you're not even trying, dude. You just put 3 Elvises up. You just Photoshop 3 Elvises, if you will, onto a blank canvas, and you wrote your name. That's it. There's you didn't do anything else. This wasn't like, oh my God, I've never seen anybody take a Campbell's soup can and paint it different colors. That is amazing. He is arguably, though, the greatest artist ever from Pittsburgh. I watched that movie, Basquiat, and David Bowie plays Warhol in it. And he's always trying to get Basquiat to go to Pittsburgh. You should come to Pittsburgh. It's fun. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Whenever I see somebody who spends that kind of money, you got to think to yourself, you're laundering money. That's all you're doing. You're like, dude, we have way too much cash. We need to figure out how to get rid of it. And then later on down the line, we could sell it. Even if we take a loss, the money will be clean at that point. The money. That's why it's always undisclosed. Right? Who is it? A couple guys from Colombia. Right? That's what it is. Are you saying? I'm kidding. It's not. You know that. It's probably some guy that's got a ton of money, one of the Arab countries, right? UAE or something like that. Maybe it's an art collector here, but probably, and they're going to put it on one of their big boats. And we're just never going to hear about it again. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Or maybe it was me.
The Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Yes, indeedy. Happy Tuesday. Miss any of the show at any time, because it's good throughout. And sometimes you miss the show. Maybe you only get 2 hours of the show. Make sure you check out the podcast. Ted Cruz, he's Ted Cruz. He understands, first of all, when it comes to the Constitution, when it comes to the political world, you don't have to agree with him, but I can, and there's some stuff I don't agree with Ted, but I recognize that there's not too many people that even are in the same realm of understanding the Constitution, understanding law in the way that he does, and our political sphere. But, he's also, I think he's leaned right into being a celebrity. I don't think he has a problem with being a celebrity, which is a celebrity that it happens to be a politician now. Sometimes there are politicians who happen to become celebrities. He was a politician who became a celebrity. But as we talk about Roe v. Wade and we talk about the insanity and people, heck no, we won't go, they're protesting and screaming. Can it last? Can this last for the Democrats enough that it's going to sway people in the future? If this would have happened 3 weeks before the election, I think there might have been an opportunity for some swaying to go on. It's, 5 months before? Yeah, not happening. We have a short attention span, but there will be some people that are sweating it out.
In terms of the underlying decision, I think what is likely to be more consequential in the midterm is the decision itself. And if the majority opinion continues to be the majority opinion, and if the outcome is that the court does strike down Roe versus Wade, I can tell you Democrats in Washington are holding on to that as their Hail Mary chance to save the midterms. They believe that people will be horrified and that'll help them win. And I got to tell you, more than a few Republican senators are nervous that's the case.
Yeah, I think what a lot of Republican senators are worried about, and even some Congress people, is the overreach in their state, right? So they're not voting on state things. So you come from a state where, you are not middle of the road, but you are the average run-of-the-mill Republican, right? You go there, you're doing the good work so you possibly can. Nobody really knows about you, but you're going to be in a tight race. And you look up and all of a sudden this is going on. And then the state that you're in, they look and they say, you know what, we're going to get rid of contraception, which is the big thing that they're talking about in Mississippi, which is not, they're blowing that out of proportion, but they're making it seem like that's all that's happening there, right? That's it. That's all that's happening. It's like, oh, did you guys hear? They're going after contraception. Jake Tapper asked Tate Reeves, who's the governor, by the way, if you're going to have a governor, Tate, might as well, hey, Tater. What are you thinking?
As I've said over the last several days, I don't have any interest in going after contraceptives.
But they want to make it a story, blow it up. We're getting rid of this, we're getting rid of that. And that's the fear of, okay, now there's going to be some massive overreach on things that we should move on, right? If you're pro-life, abortion's still here. It's not going anywhere. It's not. There will always be states, and we've said this from the beginning, there will always be states that will have abortion. There will always be states that will have choice, and some states won't. Some states is like, and by the way, the states that say that you have to keep the baby even if your father rapes you, you're moronic and idiotic. And that's stupid. That's dumbassery right there. That's what that is. That's what that is. So if you're like, nope, doesn't matter what happens, got to keep it. That's foolish and stupid. One of the things that we're never talking about here, first of all, is personal responsibility. Guys, I'm looking at you too. You have personal responsibility. Number one thing I always tell my interns. So I always get interns, and I don't know why they give me interns. I don't know, for the love of God, why that ever happens. But they'll always go, hey, Chad, we've got some people we'd like you to work with, some mentors. I'll sit down. The first thing I say is don't get pregnant and don't get anybody pregnant. First thing. I just solved 90% of what would be an uphill battle in your life. The rest of it, you'll be okay. Work hard, show up. Don't be a Richard. Responsibility is part of it. But then having an honest conversation that we don't have anymore. Because we are so, and I blame us for this. Us being the constituents, us being the people that are out there who are voting, who are holding people's feet to the fire. We have gotten to the point now in this country where it'll take 100% of nothing rather than 60% of something. We'll take 100%. 100% of no way, rather than, hey, we got 70%. We're not going to make everybody happy. If we gave you 100%, 50% of the country's going to be mad. If you give us 100%, 50% of the country's going to be mad, and people are going to be left out. But we both have common ground on several of these things. Let's get to the common ground. Women's contraception should be free. You shouldn't need to go and have a prescription. You should be able to go and get the damn thing. It's that simple. Okay? I don't see the problem with this. 100%. And by the way, most quote-unquote abortions, like 70%, are done with a pill. But because we can't have a conversation about how do we get from point A to point B in a way that, look, 70, 75% of people, they're not going to be, some are going to be over the moon, but a majority of the people are going to say, you know what, that's good. That's exactly, that's it. We're happy with this. We are. We're happy with this. It's not everything, but we're happy with it. Instead, both would like to sit there at the starting line and never start and just stand there and stare at each other saying, I'm not giving an inch. No, I'm not giving an inch. No, I'm not giving it. Well, I'm not going to give an inch. Because we've allowed people to be about the show. Not about solutions, to be about the show. Somebody asked me yesterday, Chad, if you were governor, what would you do? I say 12 weeks. 12 weeks. There you go. You've got 3 months. You can't decide after that. You've made that decision. 12 weeks. And that's it. There you go. And obviously, if the life of the mother is in danger, But again, common sense. They may say, well, I want 24. Well, you're not getting 24. 12 weeks is good. I'm not asking for 6. Stop asking for 24. 12 weeks. I thought you were pro-life. I am. Me being something doesn't mean you have to be something. But this is where common sense comes in. Common sense says, how do we look at a situation, come up with something that is workable and doable? It's not going to make everybody happy. But if you're trying to make everybody happy, you're going to make everybody miserable, including yourself. But then comes the other problem, which is, now everybody thinks I'm a traitor. Now everybody thinks I've given in to the other team. So now we're going to have to get rid of you because we're for not doing anything and getting 100% of nothing than actually doing stuff that gets things done. That's what we're about. And that's embarrassing. That is no way to... Could you imagine running a business like that? A real business, not one where you go and you take tax money from people and, you pretend... No, a real business where you're trying to get stuff done and you're talking with your business partner. You're like, I want this. I want that. I want this. I think this will look better. This, that, and the other. And you're okay. This sounds good. Here we go. You got a little bit of what what I think would work, and I got a little bit, and vice versa, and we go from there. But if the whole thing is we're doing it my way or no way, and the other guy's like, we're doing it my way or no way, then nothing gets done. And until we can put aside the who gets the credit, until we can put aside the fact that everybody's trying to appease 10% on each side that, quite frankly, you're never going to make happy because it'll never be enough, and they're much louder than they are real. Until we can do that, we're going to continue to get the things we get over and over again, which is poor governance by people that we send there who are more interested in appealing to a certain specific mob on the interwebs than actually getting stuff done. But that would call for us to speak to one another. And we just won't do that anymore because we're afraid that somebody might tweet a picture of us out with somebody who's on the other team. Oh, my God. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Got some of your texts. We're talking about those in a minute. MyPillow, right now, it's got deals for you, kids. What kind of deals, Chad? It's a BOGO extravaganza. The buy one, get one pricing going on right now. MyPillow bed sheets as low as $59.98. Elegance MyPillows as low as $49.98. 6-piece towel set, roll and go anywhere. MyPillows, so much more. With the towel set, right? Cotton grown here in the USA. No lotiony feeling. You're going to get 6, 2 bath towels, 2 hand towels, 2 washcloths, 6-day money-back guarantee. Roll and go anywhere pillows. Take them anywhere you want, right? And this is what's great. Perfect. Like you're just laying on the couch, great. Maybe you're going on a long flight. Great place. You're going to a hotel. You're like, these things are going to suck. Amazing. Take it with it. Machine washable and dryable. Tons of colors and patterns. 10-year warranty, 6-day money-back guarantee. Buy one, get one extravaganza. MyPillow.com/Benson. Bed sheets, My Pillows, just the tip of the iceberg. Full list of BOGOs going on. MyPillow.com/Benson or call 800-983-4975. Along with every order, you're going to get a free Mike Lindell book about his life and what he went through. MyPillow.com/Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
But with so many troops tied up in Ukraine, this was a smaller parade than normal. No flyby of fighter jets, bad weather blamed. Many feared Putin would double down, escalate the war, announce a military draft even. But instead, he repeated old lies about fighting Nazis in Ukraine.
Yeah. I don't know how much they're buying it. I don't. This isn't Afghanistan. This isn't even Chechnya. The reality is, at this point in time, the powers that be, while they're spinning the yarns of BS, the truth is the soldiers are seeing and hearing different. Now, they don't want to die, and they're fighting for their lives, but unless you're a hardened lover of Russia and what Putin is doing, are you fighting harder right now? Probably not, because you don't even know what your mission is. Because you're looking around, you're like, I don't see anybody dressed like a Nazi, right? Now, the Azov group, which is the far right group that has been fighting the separatists, they have definite Ukrainian nationalist leadings. Let's not pretend that they don't. We've never pretended on the show. We'll be straight up honest with you. They have, if you look at some of the symbols they use, the black moon, things like that you would see in days gone by, and they've had their issues with far right Nazi groups. Several years ago, they hosted the European Soccer Championship. It was Poland and Ukraine. They jointly hosted it. And UEFA is like, hey, guys, no Heil Hitler salutes. No, and there was issues. But they weren't running the country. Again, it was a great way for him to pretend that he was going to go do something, but he ain't doing anything. And I don't think they're buying into it like they thought. I think as they're looking around going, what are we doing here? Why are we destroying these towns, these villages? Why are we killing all these people? And why are they killing us? Like, I thought that we were told this was going to be a walkover. Why does our stuff suck? And they're starting to also hear there's some pushback.
In Russia, thousands gathered for a World War II victory commemoration and are rallying around the war in Ukraine. Now a senior US official saying there's anecdotal evidence that some Russian officers on the ground have either refused to obey orders or are not obeying them with the same measure of alacrity that you'd expect an officer to obey.
Earlier today, Macron came out and said, don't humiliate Putin. And what's the old phrase when it comes to don't surround your enemy on four sides, meaning give them an out? And I think a lot of people thought yesterday the out was going to be we have won and completed the job of extricating the Russians. I mean, the Russians that were under, the thumb of the Nazis in Ukraine. And we have now secured areas for them to be safe. And he didn't, but he also didn't call anybody up. And there is a worry, albeit not as big as I think it was several weeks ago, that he may do something, especially out of fear and embarrassment, where he acts out. I don't think he's going to do a nuclear weapon like we would think, where he was going to, that's it, I'm done with the West, I'm blowing you guys up. A lot of that is, most military people tell you no. But a tactical nuke is not off the table, and they've said that. So we'll see. 323-538-2423, at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. The day trader army, the meme stock era, they've lost all its money and then some. Very interesting article in Bloomberg talking about the meme, right? Remember the meme traders? They're on Reddit. They got the meme stocks and they're going out and they're looking and seeing, okay, what is this company over here doing? Oh, they're shorting this stock. Well, then we should go in and buy it. And they were doing all kinds of things like that. And I said to a lot of people, be careful. Like if you're getting in and out and you've made a little bit of money, okay. But if you think that you're just going to walk in there and remember, these people have unlimited funds for the most part, and they have what you don't have, which is time. So their money sitting there is going to be okay. And sure enough, over the last couple of days with the stock market going the way it is, they are paying the absolute brunt of it, and they're getting it handed to them. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Gas prices continuing to go up. Why? Discuss that. UFO conference. I might need to go to this. Talk about that too. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
COVID reappearing. Massive jumps in COVID. Oh, my God. How many people get it? Saw today, 100 million. That's what they say, 100 million people. Now, I will say this. Has there been an uptick? Of course there has. Not really keeping track like they used to. But there's a few people around the office here I know over the last couple of days that have tested positive. And they are at home. They're okay. One of the people, though, she's had 3 shots and COVID. And now she's got COVID again. Some of it's just genetics. Let's not pretend that that's not a part of it. It affects people in a much different way. Some people, it is just genetics. But did we overdo it? Yeah, we totally did. Bill Gates, who is absolutely an alarmist, and in some ways he's been right. He's been screaming about this stuff for a while. But he's been an alarmist and, more than a few times when it comes to this. Was talking, giving one of his little talks there in his interview, talking about, COVID and the numbers and the fatality rate, which is something you can't ever talk about. We've been told, like, if you're on Twitter, you can't talk about that, right? You can't talk about the origin. You can't talk about all of these things because, whatever. Science. It's just, but when you're trying to nail down something, you need the data and the truth so we can say, like anything. So, perfect example. If I'm an advertiser and I've got this widget, and my widget is aimed at 23 to 35-year-old women, I'm not going to blanket advertise everywhere. I'm going to hyper-focus on areas where I know this is going to reach them. I need the data. Same thing goes with something like this, which is if COVID, when it first happened, we were trying to figure it out. We're trying to get our feet, our sea legs, feet under us, figure some stuff out. Once we started getting some of the data, everybody was all in. And then it became a Trump is evil, Trump is bad. And by standing up to him, by wearing a mask, I'm standing up to people with red hats and the non-science believers. When people who were like, I believe in science, but I can have some questions, right? You don't get to make up the rules about questions. So he was talking about this when it came to the fatality rate.
So that was a pretty scary period, right, where the world didn't go on alert, including the United States, nearly as fast as it needed to. And then at that point, we didn't really understand the fatality rate. We didn't understand that it's a fairly low fatality rate and that it's a disease mainly of the elderly, kind of like flu is, although a bit different than that.
Yeah. People who are And we're not talking about like, hey, you know what, you're 30 pounds overweight. I mean, we should all be in better shape, but people who are severely overweight, diabetes, several comorbidities, heart problems, the elderly in particular, though. We knew exactly what we were doing. This is what we should have been doing. But instead, we reacted. Non-elected bureaucrats then had the opportunity, along with elected ding-dongs, to grab power, to turn it into a political thing, and to run with it. And what did it do? It hurt a lot of things, not just the economy. But Trump and a lot of people on the right got huge pushbacks. Oh, how dare you talk about, this is about the kids. We knew from almost the beginning the kids weren't super spreaders. Well, they could. Of course they can spread some stuff. But my God, we can't live in a world where they could, so we just better not do anything. Well, it could happen. So stupid, so idiotic. But that's where they lived. So what ended up happening? We shut everything down in a lot of places. And now Randy Weingart, who's like the head of the Teachers Association, well, we've really lost 2 years and these kids have suffered enough. People are talking about the fact that mental illness, especially amongst young children, is huge. They're struggling with a lot of different things. One of which is not being able to be around each other. These young ladies here are talking about the issues they had. Not so much with the pandemic. Again, it was the lockdown.
I remember crying every night, not knowing what was going on, and I felt so alone.
Sophia and her friend Nina Hughes were in 8th grade, looking forward to high school when COVID turned their worlds upside down.
I've always been a super smart kid, and I've always had really good grades. And then as soon as the pandemic hit, I failed a class.
Hospital admissions data shows the number of teenage girls who have been suicidal has increased 50% nationwide since 2019.
That's a pandemic. That's huge. Well, why is that? Because we locked everything down. The thing that we were inherently about as human beings, which is being around one another, cohabitating with other, being in, groups together, was suddenly taken away. And all of a sudden, that bits of humanity started to go away. Then people started living online more and more. And it went south. Not just the learning, but the mental aspect.
When I was virtual, I had no motivation to do anything. I would just sit in my room, never leave. And it was like obvious signs of depression.
My mental health got really bad, especially my eating disorder. I was basically home alone all day. My parents, they noticed that I wasn't eating. I would refuse to eat. So then they ended up taking me to the hospital.
Oh. Remember how many kids were stuck at home? My son missed over a year of school. My little brothers, Dakota and Elijah, they have never really recovered. They got so far behind. Things went south. The fear they put in my older little brother, Dakota, who's not older than me, but he's like 17. I think he's going to be 18 a little bit. He struggled with a lot, and Elijah fell further and further behind. He's got some learning problems. It was a disaster. Jack was lucky. Came out here. He's got his stepsisters. He was out doing stuff. The first portion of it, we brought Dakota and Elijah out here. It was great. But then that last 8 months where they weren't allowed to do anything, where they weren't allowed to go anything, everything was shut down. People were freaking out. Oh, my God, you're going to catch something. They were never in danger. Ever. They were never, ever in a position where they were going to be really, potentially, in life-threatening situations. Kids rarely got sick. But because people had the opportunity to grab something to run with it, to make a statement about how much you dislike Trump, how much you dislike MAGA, how much you're a good soldier in the fighting of this, and how much socially you're better than everybody else, away it went. And when everybody said, man, these kids, they're going to be a mess. These kids are struggling. These kids are, and everybody's like, oh, you shouldn't say that because it's about, safety. It's about safety. It's about this. And now we're going, well, maybe, you know what? Maybe these kids were struggling. Everybody's like, we told you. You didn't tell us. No, everybody told you.
What was lost? What did you guys lose during the pandemic?
Myself.
I lost friends because we wouldn't see each other. We couldn't go to our first homecoming. I couldn't have an 8th grade graduation. I know that doesn't sound like that big of a deal.
But it's a big deal when you're in 8th grade. Yeah.
I feel like if the pandemic hadn't happened at all, a lot of my sadness and mental problems would not be as bad as they are. It just made everything worse.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Let me tell you what they lost. The greatest currency of all time. They don't get that time back. And you can only kind of do what 8th graders can do. Right? So you're not getting that back. Your 8th grade graduation, that's not coming back to you. That time has been lost. All because we turned a pandemic into a pandemic of insanity, of fear, of profiteering, of political just puppetry, of kabuki theater. It's a joke. And those studies are showing out more and more every day. And every one of you listening that has a kid or a grandkid, you know what it was like, unless you lived in a few states where they're like, you know what, we're going back to school. Every one of you understands how crazy it was trying to get the kids to do anything, not understanding. They can't hear. What about this? And who also suffered the most? Was it the privileged? No. Was it the underserved? Was it the people that are close to the poverty line and below? Yeah. Yeah. But the mask and all of the other stuff. I mean, think about this for just a second. And I've got my 2 shots. I've got a booster. Right? I'm not anti-science. We walked around for how many months wearing a mask we knew didn't work because people said you had to wear something. How arbitrarily stupid was that? Not you have to wear this because it's the only thing that works and you have to wear this in such a way. No, it was face coverings. It was face paraphernalia, face dressings. It was not anything real that worked because it made some people feel better. And the sad thing is, we could face something in the future that could get ugly, that could be bad. But because of all of the stuff that we've lost, the trust in the CDC, the trust in the powers that be, I'm here to tell you, I don't care if tomorrow I wake up and there's 1 million people that tested positive. We're not going back to that. Because, well, things like this. How can we trust the people who not only let us down at times by getting some stuff wrong, flat out lied to us? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. Eden Pure is amazing. So what is Eden Pure? Air purifier. You get them. They come in these little boxes, right? So you can get 3-pack. You're going to go to EdenPureDeals.com. Use code CHAD3. Save $200. That's pretty awesome. I mean, you're welcome. But so you get them, you take them out, you plug them into the wall. No filters, nothing like that. Turn it on, smell the difference within seconds. It's the Oxy 2 Leaf Thunderstorm, right? So it's amazing. The Oxy Leaf 2 Thunderstorm. Little hint of sometimes rain. Oh, yeah. But the stank is gone fast. And you never, ever, ever have to buy filters. Yes. How do you get it? You go to EdenPureDeals.com. Use code CHAD3. Now, I put them in my office. I put them in the house that we have. It's great if you've got animals, maybe somebody's a smoker, whatever it is. You got kids, right? I got some kids that are younger and they're a little smelly. Guess what? You'd never know. They're still smelly, but their rooms aren't. EdenPureDeals.com, code CHAD3 saves you $200. Shipping is free. EdenPureDeals.com. Use code CHAD3. Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
It's time that the United States restore its dominance in energy production. And we have nothing to apologize for in doing that.
Kevin Kramer, Republican, North Dakota, talking about, gas prices. Things are, we're not people say we're energy independent. Is that true? Yeah, we are. Except for the fact that you were talking about coal, natural gas, and oil. Well, the third one, that's not true. You put them all together, then yes, we're energy independent. But we want to be oil independent because that's going to help when it comes to gasoline. And as we see, gas is through the roof. What's that do? It makes everything else, well, cost just a smidge more. And that is something that's not good. Prices through the roof. When prices, in particular diesel prices as well, start to continue to rise, well, then you start to see that effect take place in your wallet called siphoning. And as that thing gets siphoned, because everything that you do costs more. Everything. I mean, even going to what you would consider I'm just going to go get something at a fast food joint. And you're like, man, I don't remember paying this much. I don't remember paying this much for this meal. It's all going up. It is. And there's the pass on to the next customer, finally to the customer, us. We're feeling it.
It costs a lot to fill up a car, but for truck drivers, diesel is now $2.43 a gallon higher than it was a year ago at this time, and they have big tanks. The prices are extreme with every fill-up.
It was the first time I ever filled my truck up, and I hit over $1,000.
And for regular unleaded, the Energy Department reporting the average price up 15 cents in the past week to $4.33 a gallon, up 19 cents in New England, 21 along the Central Atlantic, and the average price in California for regular unleaded is now $5.65 a gallon.
But when you're filling up like that and those gas prices, I mean, you're looking at almost a 40 or 50% jump in the price of diesel fuel. Who do you think that? Do you think they're eating it? They're not. It cuts into a bit of their profits. Not eating all. They're eating a little bit of it, but they're passing the rest of it on to the next, to the fueling stations, to the businesses they're dropping their stuff off to. That's what this president has to figure out. He goes about doing this. And they're going to sit there and say, well, we should do clean energy. We should do this. All of those things are great, but that's not solving today's problem. I can plan for the future, but I live today. I can look out there and say, I need to save money. I need to invest. I need to do this. All of those things are smart things to do, but today is where I live. So how do we solve some of these problems today? And he's going to be forced to come up with that. And when people say, hey, it's not all his fault. I don't care whose fault it is or isn't. You were the person that said the buck stops with you. You were the person who says you're going to be president of the United States. This is where it's going to go. Well, guess what? You're in that position now to have the influence you said you wanted. What are you going to do about it? Because while it's not all your fault, so much of what you've done as president has contributed to it. A lot more than the media lead on. But the reality is a good portion of this lands at your administration's feet. What do you do with it? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Man, we did a lot of stuff today. We talked about, that couple that their love snatched away in an instant. So if you guys haven't seen, the Alabama couple was caught yesterday. They're saying she was the mastermind. So this lady who is like a 25-year spotless corrections officer career fell in love with this Casey White guy. And she was the mastermind. She helped him escape from jail. He's already doing 75 years, and he was facing capital murder charges, on the run for 11 days. And when they were finally being pursued, I guess she shot herself, and it doesn't seem to be that he did anything. They seem to be confirming that it was probably self-inflicted. But just crazy. The fact that they were out there for 11 days. He's 6'9". That's hard to hide. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Got you through the Tuesdays as we do. You know what your reward is? A taco. Have a good one. Night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.